The Mediterranean sun glints off the palace walls of Monaco, casting long shadows across the principality that mirror the complexities of the man who rules it. Prince Albert II of Monaco, son of the legendary Grace Kelly and Prince Rainier III, inherited more than just a throne when his father died in 2005. He inherited a legacy, a fairy tale kingdom, and the weight of expectations that would prove almost impossible to bear. What followed was a 2-decade reign marked by scandal, secrets, and a seemingly endless parade of revelations that threatened to transform Monaco's royal family from symbols of glamour into cautionary tales about privilege without accountability. For years before ascending to the throne, Albert cultivated a reputation that earned him an unmistakable moniker, the Playboy Prince. Where his mother had embodied grace and his father stern dignity, Albert seemed to embody something altogether different, a bachelor prince whose romantic exploits stretched across continents and decades. High-profile relationships with models and celebrities filled tabloid pages, but it was what remained hidden that would ultimately define his early reign. The first bombshell exploded in 2005, mere months after Albert's accession. A French magazine revealed what palace officials had desperately tried to conceal. Albert had an illegitimate son, Alexandre, born in 2003 to Nicole Coste, a flight attendant from Togo, was nearly 2 years old when his existence became public knowledge. The prince, faced with undeniable evidence and mounting pressure, finally acknowledged the child. But the damage was done. Monaco's new sovereign had begun his reign, not with ceremony and celebration, but with confession and controversy. Yet Alexandra was merely the opening act. The following year, another secret child emerged from the shadows. Jasmine Grace Grimaldi, born in 1992 to California waitress Tamara Rotolo, had spent her entire childhood without public acknowledgement from her royal father. For more than a decade, Rotolo had sought child support, filing legal claims that Albert's team consistently denied. Only when DNA evidence made denial impossible did the prince finally admit paternity. Jasmine was 14 years old, her childhood already lived, her identity already formed in the absence of a father who possessed infinite resources but had offered her none until forced. The pattern was damning. Here was a man who had used his position and privilege to pursue pleasure, then attempted to erase the consequences. Both Alexandra and Jasmine were born of relationships that Albert had kept carefully compartmentalized, hidden from public view, until exposure made silence impossible. The prince's defenders argue he was protecting the children's privacy, but critics see something more troubling: a man who wanted the benefits of royal status without accepting its responsibilities, who treated women as temporary diversions rather than human beings deserving honesty and support. Monaco's succession laws reveal the cold calculation behind these acknowledgements. While Albert finally admitted to fathering Alexandre and Jasmine, they remain barred from succession. Monaco's constitution stipulates that only direct and legitimate descendants can inherit the throne. This legal framework meant that no matter how many children Albert fathered outside marriage, they posed no threat to the crown. They could be acknowledged without consequence to the line of succession, convenient admissions, once secrecy became untenable. But the revelations didn't stop. In 2020, another paternity claim emerged, this time from a Brazilian woman referred to in court documents as Marisa S. She alleged that Albert had fathered her child in 2005 during a visit to Rio de Janeiro. The timing was particularly damaging. Albert was already in a serious relationship with Charlene Wittstock by then, having met her in 2000. The prince's lawyers dismissed the claim as a hoax, refusing DNA testing that had proven the other paternity cases. To this day, the Brazilian case remains unresolved, a shadow of doubt that refuses to dissipate. Perhaps even more disturbing than the secret children were the revelations about how they were maintained. In 2024, Claude Palmero, Albert's former accountant and longtime aide, turned whistleblower. His disclosures to French media painted a picture of a prince who had established elaborate financial mechanisms to support his extramarital children and their mothers, mechanisms kept carefully hidden from his wife, Princess Charlene. According to Palmero's claims, Albert maintained a secret French bank account under the initials AG, Albert Grimaldi, specifically for payments to former mistresses. Jasmine reportedly received payments exceeding $85,000 per quarter. along with a $3 million New York apartment. Alexandra's mother, Nicole Cost, allegedly received funding for her fashion business. These weren't mere child support payments quietly made through proper channels. They were, according to Palmero's account, hidden financial arrangements that suggested a man living a double life even within marriage. One face turned toward his wife and legitimate children, another managing an elaborate network of obligations and secrets. If Albert's past provided the scandals, his present offered something more disturbing: the visible unhappiness of his wife. Princess Charlene's story reads less like a fairy tale than a Gothic novel. The former Olympic swimmer from South Africa met Albert in 2000, but didn't become publicly involved with him until 2006. Their 2011 wedding, a $100 million spectacle attended by royalty and celebrities, should have been a celebration. Instead, it sparked persistent rumors that haunt the couple to this day. Reports emerged that Charlene had attempted to flee Monaco 3 times before the wedding, even allegedly seeking refuge at the South African embassy in Paris. The rumors persisted that palace officials had confiscated Charlene's passport, that Albert had paid her to go through with the ceremony, that the marriage was a contractual arrangement rather than a love match. The palace vehemently denied these claims, calling them seriously defamatory. Yet the pattern of Charlene's subsequent struggles lent the rumors a disturbing credibility. After giving birth to twins, Jacques and Gabriella, in 2014, securing the succession Albert's father had desperately wanted, Charlene seemed to retreat into herself. Then came 2021, and what the palace characterized as a medical crisis. Charlene traveled to South Africa in May for what was supposed to be a brief trip: an ear, nose, and throat infection, reportedly a complication from dental surgery, left her unable to fly, grounded in her home country for 6 months. She underwent multiple surgeries, missed her children's first day of school, missed her 10th wedding anniversary. When she finally returned to Monaco in November, she lasted barely a week before checking into a Swiss treatment facility for what Albert described as exhaustion, both physical and emotional. For more than a year, Princess Charlene remained largely absent from public life, separated from her children, treated for what officials would only vaguely characterize as health problems. Albert insisted it wasn't COVID, wasn't cancer, wasn't related to their marriage. Yet the extended absence, coming mere weeks after returning to her family, suggested something more complex than a sinus infection. The palace's carefully worded statements about profound general fatigue and the need for privacy felt less like medical updates than damage control. Critics pointed to the timing and circumstances with suspicion. A woman trapped away from her family for months by a medical condition returns home, then immediately requires intensive treatment in a secret location. The narrative strained credulity. Body language experts analyzed photographs of the couple's reunions, noting Charlene's extreme PDAs that seemed performative, her attention seemingly elsewhere, even as she embraced her husband. Yet perhaps, just perhaps, there are signs that Albert is finally attempting to become the man Monaco needs, rather than the one his appetites have made him. In 2025, he gave a remarkably candid interview, stating that what he was most proud of was his marriage and children. Coming from a man whose previous pride points seemed to center on international conferences and environmental initiatives, this represented a shift in priorities. Charlene, for her part, has made increasingly public statements of support, including a passionate speech at the 2025 Red Cross Gala, celebrating Albert's 20-year reign. The couple has appeared together more frequently, seemingly more comfortable, perhaps genuinely reconnected after years of strain. Charlene's health has reportedly stabilized. She's resumed royal duties, appearing at events with renewed energy. They attend their children's school functions together, vacation at their country estate, and present the image of a family that has weathered storms and emerged intact. Is this genuine transformation or skillful public relations? The question lingers. Albert's relationship with his older children has evolved. Both Alexandre and Jasmine now attend some public events, receive acknowledgement, and maintain relationships with their father. In a 2023 interview, Alexandra bristled at being called illegitimate, insisting he bears his father's name and always has. Perhaps Albert is finally integrating the disparate pieces of his life rather than compartmentalizing them. Yet the revelations from Claude Palmero suggest that even recently, Albert was maintaining financial secrecy from Charlene, operating systems of payment and support that his wife wasn't meant to know about. Trust broken over years doesn't rebuild overnight, and Charlene's extended health crisis, coming precisely when it did, raises uncomfortable questions about the toll of living within these palace walls, married to this particular prince. Is Prince Albert II a good man? Is he a worthy role model for Monaco and its people? These questions resist easy answers. He is undeniably his father's son, flawed, complicated, human in ways that royal families often try to conceal. Unlike Rainier, who maintained an image of stern propriety despite his own complications, Albert's indiscretions became public spectacles. On one hand, he has acknowledged his children, provided financial support, and attempted, however belatedly, to integrate them into his life. He has championed environmental causes, led Monaco through economic changes, and maintained the principality's international standing. Those who know him describe someone charming, intelligent, genuinely committed to Monaco's future. On the other hand, his pattern of behavior suggests a man who has consistently chosen personal gratification over responsibility, who maintained secret children and hidden financial arrangements, who may have entered marriage more from duty than devotion. The visible suffering of Princess Charlene, whether primarily medical, emotional, or some complex mixture, occurred on his watch, in his palace, within a marriage that began under clouds of doubt. Perhaps what's most troubling isn't that Albert made mistakes. Everyone does. But that his position allowed him to contain and manage those mistakes for so long, to use power and privilege to delay accountability. The children he finally acknowledged existed long before that acknowledgement. The secrets he kept came to light only when concealment became impossible. Yet people do change. Marriages do heal. Perhaps Albert and Charlene's recent appearances together represent genuine growth, a couple that has faced their demons and chosen each other anyway. Perhaps fatherhood has finally taught Albert the responsibility that princehood couldn't. Perhaps the pain of nearly losing his wife has transformed his priorities. Or perhaps we're simply witnessing the latest chapter in a long performance. A troubled prince and his unhappy princess, playing their parts for a public that demands fairy tales, even when confronted with something darker and more real. History will judge him. Monaco will judge him. For now, we can only watch as he writes the remaining chapters of his story, with Charlene at his side, their twins growing into their own complicated inheritance, and the ghosts of past choices never quite fading, but perhaps finally being faced rather than fled.